Experience the highs and lows of the inspiring success stories we highlight. Allow the experiences and the examples of our guests to lift and inspire you out of the past or future. Hi, I'm Jennifer Annenberg, and I'm here with Donna Salyers of Fabulous Furs, who's president of Fabulous Furs. It is the largest woman-owned business in Greater Cincinnati, and I got to tell you, it's an inspiration to me, and it has been, because she has put Covington on the map. And I just want to tell you, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
And I got to tell you, I have to look at my cheat sheet because there are so many people that have worn your furs, from Sharon Stone, Donald Trump, Kate Moss. You've been on the Jay Leno show, Sports Illustrated magazine, Law and Order, Lucky, Cosmo, Gossip Girl. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Well,
These
no
papers
one,
are incredible.
No one could be more surprised than I.
Which is a testimony to who you are, your humility, and really what you represent here, I think. Which again, and she's shaking this off, it is really, I think you embody this certain quality that I think that has brought you through. I don't know if you realize that or not. Has anyone said that before?
Well, I subscribe to the notion that you never really make it, and as soon as you think you've made it, you fall right off your spot, or as far as you've come. Yeah. And there's always something more to do. I think that is so stupid to sit back and say, well, I did it. No, oh no, you didn't. Somebody is running up behind you, and they will pass you and take your share of the market. And no, I am always hungry and always running.
Interesting. So you find there's always this drive that's compelling you to do more, be more.
Yeah, and I think that's any entrepreneur. I guess some entrepreneurs sit back and say, great, we're here.
But
I
do you
think
ever have a sense of trust, though, of knowing that things were going to go the way they are?
No.
I mean, this is
a
$12 million business. I mean, this is
we're 13.
$13 million business.
But every year, I think, I don't think what will happen that will keep us from making our numbers this year? Could it be another 2000 or September 11th? That was horrible for retail. You know, we didn't recover. Yeah. We didn't recover for years and years. And I wasn't alone. I wasn't unique. Many companies went under. I was one of the fortunate ones who stayed alive. So I think there's always something. Okay, there could be a really warm winter. That is death to the cold weather businesses. And I'm not alone. I'm not being singled out. There's always something that, no business runs smoothly and it doesn't just come to you. That's the nature of the beast.
Well, it is, and I agree with you. But I wonder, though, for the viewers and people who do look for their passion or their purpose, and they're on the couch wondering, when am I going to get this moment or this break? And I don't know if you had that moment, or if you just were always off the couch. I mean, what would you say to the person?
No, I would say you may not know what it is that you're going after, but find something and try it. Do it in the smallest way. If it's you have a passion for gardening, okay. Next week, start selling your plants or your arrangements or your flowers, or get a job in a floral shop so that you learn the industry, learn everything that you can.
Yeah, great point.
You have to get started. You just start. And even
Action.
if you sell, I always tried to set goals and say, I don't care what happens today, I'm going to sell at least $500 worth of something. Or whatever.
So you set goals, then, is what you do.
Gosh,
tangible goals
yes,
and tangible.
Yes,
Interesting.
and I think you must. Because
I can
if
see
you
you keep action goals.
Yeah, if you don't know what your goals are, you have no idea where you're going. And I think that's the same every day, that I say, have I done what I need to do today to move this business forward? I can't leave my desk until then. Okay, I don't care if I have to stay till 6:30, fine. I'm going to make that last call or send that last email. And have those things in mind that will advance the business today.
And that is so strongly understood. I think that probably from the people around you, they get that work ethic from you. I love the way that on your your business acumen, I would say, or your personal goals are, one of them is to contribute to personal development. I don't know if you remember that, but it's on there. Help the community, provide jobs, add economic development, contribute to personal development. And I found that struck me as particularly interesting because I think without knowing it, we all have our signature with the people around us. We tend to, you know, emit a certain quality, you know, of who we are. And I wonder how you, when you said that, contribute to personal development in the person, how you feel you do that and contribute.
Well, I've always felt it would be difficult to work for someone like me or anyone, because I rarely, I wrote a syndicated newspaper column for 17 years. So I wasn't exactly reporting, I was doing it on my own schedule. So for many years, most of my adult life, I've worked for myself. I've gone out and got freelance writing jobs or whatever it is. So I always try to put myself in the place of the person who's working here and saying, am I the kind of person that I would want to work for? Do you get to learn what you want to learn? And are the people who work here, are they having the opportunity to feel like they're contributing? I think that means a whole lot to just say, I go into work and I move the needle every day. The things I do really make a difference to make this company profitable and to keep going and hiring more people and expanding the business. So I mean, it's just like it's common sense, and it's like being a mother. You want all of your family to be part of it and feel happy that we're here together and contributing.
And speaking of contributing, you do contribute so much. Your philanthropy with your business is also one of the big parts of your business. I know that I've read also, 500 coats here, or, you know, you've done things in colder states in the United States,
you
and
know
all
what?
that as well.
I grew up in a poor family. I didn't have an opportunity to get an education. And I always felt if I had some, you know, measure of success, then I owed a tremendous debt. So I do. I feel like, man, I've been so lucky. I should bring up the next group.
Right, it is fantastic.
And if it's with coats to keep them warm, great. We'll keep you warm.
But you do charity events, you do other things in town. I mean, it is something that seems to be part of your giving back, and it also, I think, resonates with the people that you work with and around you.
Thank you. The least I can do.
I wondered also if you could let me know about challenging times. And I know you mentioned 9/11, and how would you advise our viewers on to getting through those challenging times? What reserves do you bring up?
Well, every business will face challenging times, and I certainly don't take it personally. Everyone does. Even if you're not a business owner, you will in your place of employment or with your family or with an illness with your children or so many things. So I guess it's all the same. But I do remember one, and I'm sure you'll remember this instance. There was a young man who was hiking in the mountains, I think in Colorado, and he became trapped. His arm was stuck, and he I think it went on for days, and finally he made a decision. He had a rusty pocket knife, and he had to cut off his arm.
Yes.
And people said, how did you ever do that? And he said, I made that decision, and I decided I'm moving on. And so I cut out that article, and I remember often thinking about that, like after September 11th, when things were terrible in the retail industry, you know, because everybody, you know, we thought the world was over, and if we did survive, we would have no money, and so people certainly weren't shopping, and we had just mailed 1 million catalogs around September. People started getting them, like September
that week.
10th.
I think you said that week.
Yeah, there was a window. And that was when September 11th happened, and that's when our 1 million catalogs hit people's mailboxes.
Unbelievable.
And we could have just as well thrown them in the Ohio River. It would have amounted to the same. But you just go on. So we had half price sales. We cut our staff down to nothing.
Wow.
We all would work, you know, take calls during the day, go to the warehouse at night, ship the orders, come back and do it again tomorrow. And so we were the lucky ones who And so you just remember all the tough things that you've gone through, and you say, well, gosh, if I got through that, this will be easy. And then, of course, maturity is very helpful too. Facing something when you're
Wisdom,
21
Correct.
is much more daunting than facing something when you're my age. So I know I've been through hard things, and I know we'll figure out a way, like we always do.
We always do. And I
Yeah.
think the key that what you just said is not taking it personal. And you obviously, I mean, you have anxieties and worries, I'm sure. So we all do. But how did you keep it from going into that? Or were there times where you felt like, oh, this is
well, I've always
insurmountable?
felt it was very, very important to be physically fit. And so I can go take a walk and walk for 5 miles, and I'll lose a lot of my anxiety. Or at least I'll be so exhausted I'll go to sleep and think about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So honestly, if people are not physically fit, I don't know how they deal with the stresses of just
I agree
every
with you.
day.
I myself have the same thing. I walk almost every day,
Do
3
you?
miles.
Just
in the
to
yes.
kind of
It's
empty out your...
almost a meditation.
Yeah,
It
is.
just empties.
I
I'm
feel that
nowhere
too.
else but right there in
Yeah.
that moment, and it really helps.
I agree.
So yeah, take that advice.
Yeah. How about yoga? Do you do
I
yoga?
do yoga as well.
I do
I've done
too.
it for 14 years.
Really?
Yes.
That's great. I
It
do
is
too.
phenomenal, and I really think that those things, hearing that from
Yeah.
people, also helps. And it also may clear your mind to where you need to go, because
Right.
if you're not in that, if you're constantly in the static of,
Right.
you know, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm doing wrong, maybe, you know, blah, blah, how can one listen to the voice?
Right.
You know, we all have been
Yeah,
there.
and sometimes big answers or things suddenly seem clear
Yes.
when you're, you know, walking or running or whatever it
Absolutely.
is that takes you away from every day.
And sometimes an answer isn't immediate. It
Mhm.
comes later, and the later it is, sometimes is the perfect moment. It
Right.
wasn't, you weren't meant to have it at that moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing to acknowledge too. And I think, especially in our times, we had mentioned children, and I've got children all different kinds of ages, but it's so instant. Life is so instant now, and I think that when you mention wisdom, I think that is something definitely that one can bring to your business, and also.
You know, honestly though, I think somebody with children your age is a much more difficult time than me running a business. My children are adults, and I get to see my grandchildren, and we're blessed that they're close by. But how people like you work all day and then take care of your family at night, wow. Now that's tough. That's tough.
Oh, you're sweet. You're sweet. It's about having fun, I think, and it's that adage of putting your oxygen mask on first. And I think when one is happy, I think when one is happy or fulfilled or doing something with purpose, then I feel that I have so much more to bring, and then I can spend that quality moment being completely present, because I'm not thinking, well, I'm a loser, or I'm not doing what I, you know, I whatever obsessive thoughts, you know, there's a million of them, we all have, but I truly feel now that I'm doing, whether or not, and I'm not even attached to the success of it, I feel that it doesn't matter, I'm happy.
I've always felt that way. I don't care if it makes a dime. I just love doing this.
Yeah.
And honestly, at some point, I can remember, well, actually, I started out a writer. And after I had written a newspaper column for, I don't know, 10 years, my husband's accountant said, you know, Donna, she can no longer call this a job, it's a hobby, because she's not making any money, you know. And I said, well, you know, I don't really care. Of course, not everyone has the luxury of being able to work until, okay, I may not make any money for 5 years. That is a luxury that a husband may afford or a spouse affords.
Right, right,
So
right.
there's all kinds of situations. And
It is, but it is something that you were able to do, and you did it, and I think that's wonderful.
and I'm thrilled.
You're thrilled, and you were grateful, and I think
I'm very
gratitude
grateful.
ends up producing more gratitude, or else, in somewhat, I just believe that your exterior world is a product of your interior in some way. I really do believe that, and at least in my life. But
I do too.
I wondered, though, if I could segue to the beginning, because I think it's a fantastic story. I don't know if you could share that, because I mean, this woman was sewing in her.
So why would I start a catalog
I
business?
mean, well, and you started, and it really was a kind of a fluke, wasn't it? Because
It
you
was.
you wanted the warmth, or actually you observed in New York, didn't you? People were wearing fur, and you thought, well, I want fur.
Well, I have to start even earlier than that. I grew up in a poor family, and I had a grandma who loved to sew, and she passed it on to me, and I loved to sew, and I started sewing at 7, and I made clothes that I actually wore and that kind of thing. And so I had 2 kids in diapers, and I wrote a letter to our local newspaper and said, your sewing column is so awful. Even I could write a better newspaper column than what you do. And they wrote me a letter and said, we wish you would send us 6 samples. And I had never written anything before except letters to the editor. So I sent 6 sample newspaper columns in, and now I have a job. And that segued into a national television show, a show called Sewing, Etc. And so I actually had to go to New York to do this show. And I observed that everyone in New York is wearing a full-length mink coat, except for this one pathetic person who just got off the plane from Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I'm not going back to New York until I get a full-length mink coat. So I had to make one.
Oh my gosh! So you sewed it yourself?
I sewed it.
And then you went on the streets?
So with my connections, having written a newspaper column, I knew who to call. There were still mills in this country, in the United States, who were making faux fur. And I could call and say, hey, I know you've got some really nice fake fur, not the stuff that goes into a Care Bear. But so I got my hands on some faux fur, made my coat, wore it to New York, and people stopped me on the street to say, wow, that is a gorgeous coat. And I never explained that, well, I just finished it before I left for the airport, and I was still sitting on pins and all that kind of thing. But I can remember we went to dinner when the World Trade Center was still standing. They couldn't check my coat because they couldn't take responsibility for a coat of that value. And of course I love that, and I just kept wearing that coat. And finally, I made some money from my television show, and I said, I think I'll buy a full-length mink coat. And I made that decision without checking with my husband. I'm just going to spend $5,000 on a really gorgeous coat. And I'm in my car on my way to the fur salon, and Paul Harvey comes onto my car radio and is describing kittens, how they would take a litter of kittens and give them a good home. But in reality, they skin them alive and pass them off as mink teddy bears. And I'm horrified because I bet I'm about to buy a coat made from kittens. Now that's terrible. So I said, oh, I can't. I'm not buying a coat today. But I should start a business. I bet people would feel just like I do. If they've seen my fake fur, they loved it. You don't want to wear kitten fur or whatever it is. I just never thought of animals in that context being, 100 animals turned into a coat. That's pathetic. So I started my business, and it was a coat kit. And I could sell you a pattern and a piece of fabric, and you'll make the coat. And that's how we started.
Unbelievable start. Unbelievable. All right, I have a fun question for you. I want to know what article of clothing could you not live without? That you design all these things. What could you not live without?
Comfortable shoes.
Comfortable
because I have to
shoes.
run around all the time. It's a big building, and I run up to cutting where we have a workroom, and back to my office and into the showroom.
It's a must.
So I am
no
very,
4-inch stilettos.
I'm very practical. Very practical.
Yeah, nothing against my stilettos.
No.
I love high heels. But what advice would you give to the younger you, if you could go back and give the younger you advice now that you're here?
I guess to have a little more confidence, because I was never convinced. Well, I guess you earn those things, but when you first start out, you think, oh, is this worth it? Is it good enough? Is it enough?
Yeah.
And it was, and it is, but
does that ever stop?
No,
Tell us.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that keeps you always trying to perfect and do better, and that's a good thing.
But does that also get replaced by a different sort of tape in your mind that I have done this?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, are you able to see yourself from a third person sometimes and
Mhm.
see yourself as who you are?
Yeah, because I sometimes, I think about it like when I'm asked to speak before a group, maybe of business people, and I think, I can tell you about all these things because I feel like I'm talking about someone else. I don't know how all these things happened. Like how do we end up on the Miss Universe pageant, and how do we end up on the Jay Leno show or in Sports Illustrated or whatever. It certainly wasn't in my plan, but I'm just very lucky to things were
Yeah, I mean, what's
in
your most
alignment.
exciting? I mean, you've been on so many shows and so many sitcoms and
Well,
magazines. What was the most, or maybe the beginning? When did you think I made it? Oh, God, guys, we made it.
yeah, it was Loretta Swit who called us and wanted a coat, and she was Hot Lips on MASH, and we were selling only sewing kits at that time.
Okay.
And she said, I don't know how to sew, but I want one of your coats. It's beautiful. And I said, I'll just turn it over to the ready-to-wear department. And so, of course, that was me.
You.
And I made her coat. So I thought that was
That's
quite something that she would
fantastic.
find us. And then shortly thereafter, Designing Women found us, and that was quite something. And so each time something like that happens, you gain a little confidence. But when Nordstrom, my daughter joined the business, and she somehow managed to get an appointment with Peter Nordstrom, the
Wow.
Peter Nordstrom.
The
and,
Peter
And
Nordstrom,
before
yeah.
that was on a Friday, and before she could get back to her desk on Monday, the coat buyer had called and said, can you meet us in New York in a few days?
Wow.
And so she and I went, and we got into Nordstrom, and we said, oh my goodness, we must really be something. And so if Nordstrom likes us, then think of all the little independent stores that would love us. We have Nordstrom quality, that's what that means. And then that gave us the confidence to go to a big retail selling show. It's called Magic out in Las Vegas. And we had great success. And then we say, okay, we're ready for the big league up in New York. We'll go to the Javits, to one of those New York shows.
Yeah.
And that's great. And then when we hit Saks Fifth Avenue, oh my goodness, that is awesome. And then when they we ship the order and they reordered in 2 weeks, we say, we are something else here. And then when so that was only last year, so now we're into Saks for our second year. And we just got word, we could have a full page in the Saks Christmas catalog. Oh my Lord, I could never imagine that. I could never script that. That's way beyond anything that I could ask for. But it got better.
Oh, no.
Neiman Marcus, we're in Neiman's. We're in
Unbelievable.
Neiman's. And so so after these things happen, you say, don't be stupid, just accept it and something bigger will come along. But even if it doesn't, I will be
Interesting.
eternally grateful for all the lucky breaks I've already had.
But I think it's that childlike quality and the wonder that you still possess, that each success, each step, it's renewed. Your vim and vigor in what is accomplished. But I think that keeps one grounded, because there is a sense in you that you're just so approachable and grounded, and but I think that
I have very
sets you
humble
apart.
beginnings. I should be.
And I wonder if that is a combination of all of that, and then your humble
I think
beginnings.
I think struggle is good. Struggle
Yes.
is good.
Yes, it's not always easy, but I think it gives you a framework from where to
I agree.
launch. So I mean, I hear all these stories about it seems to be this dry spell in the desert people go through, but you can get better or
That's
bitter.
what you'll learn from.
Better or
I think you
bitter.
really learn from the really hard times,
Yeah.
and you'll probably look back and say, it was hell going through that, but honestly, I have to say it was a good thing
Yeah.
because we learned so much, or it taught us. We had to figure out something new, and you say, oh my gosh, what a breakthrough that was. Otherwise, without that challenge, we wouldn't have been forced to find that breakthrough.
Exactly. How appropriately said. And I also think that wonder, that appreciation you have, helps you to really, and I know I was redundant, I'm saying the word again, but it helps you to appreciate exactly what you have, rather than, well, yeah, another magazine, another.
No,
well,
not
yeah.
me.
It's not.
Maybe
it's not,
some people,
life's
but
not
not
the
me.
same anymore. It just becomes, yeah, another magazine, another movie star. Yeah, I'm on the View now. It's no big deal. But
We've
I
been
think
on The View.
you
We've been
ha-
on
I
the
seen
Today
that,
Show.
and
We've
so-
been on all those things.
all the stars you can
Yeah.
imagine. You've been. I mean, the list. Like I said, this is like a 4-page document. It's incredible. It's very impressive, but still, yet I love that you can look at each new success with wonder, childlike wonder, and say, "I got it again." Sex.
I'm easily amused, but you
I
know,
love that. I think that's fresh. It keeps you fresh, and I think life is enjoyed more from that perspective. That could be.
It makes
really
me very happy to have a business and to have the privilege of working every day. I know some people say, why do you do this? Why do you work so hard? Well, I love it.
Yeah, you
It's
must
a
love it.
disease I can't.
Do you come to work every day still? Every day?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Holidays,
6
things-
days. Yes.
6 days
yes,
a week?
Yeah, and I'll come in
What
on
time do you come?
Sunday. I'll come in on Sunday just because we have 2 office cats and they need to be fed, and I'm not going to ask anyone else to do that unless I'm
Unbelievable,
traveling
this
in
work
China or
ethic.
something. But no, I come in every day, of course. I've
Yeah.
got a lot to do. I
You
better
do.
come in every
You
day.
do.
And I better get in early too.
How early do you get in?
Well, 8,
Yeah. So you're in there at 8 and you leave probably, you have a
Oh.
full day, I'm sure.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real, it's incredible.
I better.
I
If we want to have a year, yes, I will.
Well, I also want to know, do you have any personal goals or visions? I mean, is this sort of trailing along the way you wanted to go the business, or I mean, it's obviously it's an engine of itself now, or do you see that you want to take it somewhere else?
Well, it's already so far exceeded anything that I ever expected or hoped for. Couldn't even begin. So I feel like I've had a great success and highly blessed and very lucky. But it gets better because my daughter joined the business, and her husband is joined the business, and he became our CEO. And he is one smart guy, and his name is Guy.
Oh.
And he's just a great numbers person, and he has really added a lot to the business. She has added a tremendous amount to the business. So I'm doubly blessed because I have something to say, okay, you guys, this business, you can keep it going because they're taking me to a nursing home and you're in charge or
Right.
whatever. But it's lovely to have a legacy to pass on to
Absolutely.
the next generation.
question.
Couldn't ask for more.
I would like to ask you what, when it's all said and done, there's all this stuff and whatever, and in the end it's stuff, right? And it's, but what would you like to be known for?
Making a contribution.
Yes. And do you feel that you have? In what ways?
I do.
What ways do
Well,
you know you've made a contribution? Because I personally think you've made an amazing contribution.
Thanks.
But-
I think to start an industry of faux fur that, I've always loved animals, and okay, so you don't have to kill 100 animals to have a silly coat. You can buy one and it's beautiful, and hey, incidentally, it's probably machine washable, or it's all the things that, all the good things about animal fur, but none of the bad. Plus, it's a great value in comparison. So I love to think that, gosh, maybe we saved a few million animals because we've done this for 23 years, and there's no reason that faux fur will not overtake animal fur. I mean, animal fur is so over, and it's so silly. It's so stupid and cruel and
Well, plus you've
silly.
really redefined what faux fur is. You have the finest. I don't know
Well,
if
it's
you
a
could talk
great
about this.
quality.
It's a great quality. It's a, what do you call it? Micro.
We're known for the world's finest. We can say that.
Right.
And
Didn't you send a coat to the Queen of
yes, to the
somewhere? And it
Queen
was
of Sweden.
It was.
And a
held-
courier was detained in customs because it was animal fur, not labeled to the proper country of origin.
That's a testimony.
It was
to-
fake fur,
It was
guys.
fake
It's fake
fur.
So just those crazy things that happen. But you know, I'll tell you one thing that I would love to see happen. I've worked with the Ministry of Defense in the UK, and when they, you know, the bearskin hats that the Queen's Guards wear, it takes 2 bears. They kill 2 bears to make one stupid hat.
That's
which
good
is
to know.
So
yes. None of us knew that.
So
None of us knew.
amazingly stupid.
Yeah.
How? What are they
bears.
thinking? And they break international law because they have to be Canadian bears to be the right color. So they're shipping endangered animals across international lines and so on. So I was contacted, sort of just a fluke, that PETA contacted me and said, "Hey, could you do bearskin hats?" And I said, "Tomorrow." so it took years to get the fur just right and so on. And so that would be a great thing. That would be a lovely legacy to say, no, you don't have to kill 2 bears for every hat. And they make, I don't know, I don't know if they make 1,000 a year. They're not that big of a army, but you know, to leave a legacy like that, I think would be very lovely. But I'm thrilled just to have cracked into to something that would save animals. And it's not that I have a zoo at home. I just love cats and I love dogs, etc. And there are many people who do a lot more for animals than I do. But I mean, if I can contribute that way, I think that's a great thing. And I'll be very pleased.
Yeah, and just for other people who obviously don't live here in this area, and we're in Kentucky, but they can be online. You have an online business.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
fabulousfurs.com.
Yeah. We have the catalog business, which you can, I guess, you can go online and get your own version of the catalog as well.
Sure.
Yeah, and then there's always there's things. I mean, you have other ways. I guess you couldn't really do any other. You can't call. And you don't ship from the store.
Oh,
or you do?
sure.
Oh, see?
Oh, yes.
How else can you get in contact?
At Christmas time, we'll ship out a couple thousand packages a day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when our season really ramps up. So,
Wow.
so fabulousfurs.com, and you know, our website is pretty comprehensive. But
and you really don't. I mean, the visuals here don't do it justice. When you feel these furs,
he has a great touch. Better all the
are
time.
incredible. It is
Better
the
all
softest
time.
thing that you've ever felt, and the realistic looks. It is quite impressive.
Well, and we say if Saks will sell it, if Neiman's will sell it,
That's right.
I bet it's really good.
It is really good.
It's not just us who says it's really good.
Yeah, and you're doing what you want to be known for. Your mission
Well,
at the same time.
I
you're
love that.
saving animals, and you're.
But I also love the fact that we hire people, and now they feed their families, and
That's
they can
right.
educate their children, and you know, it's just a dynamic. It's the dynamic of small business that really makes the country.
I have to say,
move
you're
forward.
doing what your mission statement, which is I just so loved. Your business is helping the community. It's providing jobs. It's adding economic development. It's contributing to personal development. And your last part, which I didn't say before, which I love this part, is you wanted to make the world a bit better. And I love that. And you are. Not only in the way that it's our 4-legged animals or 2-legged or whatever, you know, you're making the world better. I think you are an inspiration to women. I think you're I know you are to me. I think you do things for other people that you may not be aware of just by being who you are. And I think that that's an important message for anyone, is being who you are. You know, being you, because someone else is already taken. You know, just be who you are, and whatever gifts those bring to the table. And do you well, because you do you well, and I really thank you for that. So it's been a really great time getting to know you more.
Lovely, thank you.
And thank you for sharing that today. Thanks so much.
It's my privilege.
Thanks.
Come find yourself. The world needs you, all of you. How long are you willing to wait?